You're standing between two friends. One of them says something political, something you don't quite agree with. You nod. You say, yeah, totally. Then the other one jumps in with the exact opposite take, and without missing a beat, you nod again. You soften your voice and say, I see that side too. Neither of them notices. But you do. That small, silent collapse inside your chest. That's not diplomacy. That's disappearing. Most people think this habit is harmless. They call it being flexible, being agreeable, keeping the peace. But here's what's actually happening. Every time you twist yourself into a shape that fits someone else's expectations, you're teaching your brain that your own perspective isn't safe to hold. Not wrong, not bad. Just not safe. So you learn to pre-edit. You scan the room before you speak. You adjust your tone, your opinion, even your sense of humor depending on who's listening. And it works. People like you. They think you're easy to talk to, low drama. But inside, something else is happening. You start losing track of what you actually think. Not because you're lying, but because you've spent so long translating yourself into acceptable versions that the original gets buried. You become fluent in everyone else's language and forget your own. The worst part is how slow it happens. It's not one big moment of betrayal. It's 1,000 tiny adjustments. A laugh you fake. An opinion you swallow. A boundary you don't set because it might make someone uncomfortable. And each time, the gap between who you are and who you're pretending to be gets a little wider. Until one day, someone asks you a simple question. What do you actually want? And you freeze. Because you genuinely don't know anymore. There's a name for what's happening here. Psychologist Jennifer Campbell spent years researching something called self-concept clarity. It's a measure of how clearly and confidently you understand who you are. People with high self-concept clarity have a stable, internally consistent sense of themselves. They know what they believe, what they value, what they want. That doesn't mean they're rigid or closed-minded. It means they have a foundation. Campbell's research found something crucial. The people with the lowest self-concept clarity weren't the ones going through identity crises or major life changes. They were the chronic people pleasers, the ones who constantly adapted themselves to fit the expectations of others. And here's why that matters. Your sense of self isn't something you're born with fully formed. It's something you build through a process called self-perception. You learn who you are partly by observing your own behavior. When your actions align with your internal state, your brain says, okay, this is me, this is what I stand for. But when you're constantly performing, constantly shape-shifting, your brain gets confused. It can't tell the difference between what you actually believe and what you're pretending to believe for social survival. So your sense of identity becomes blurry, unstable. Campbell called this self-concept confusion, and the data showed it correlates directly with anxiety, depression, and a deep sense of emptiness. Because when you don't know who you are, every decision feels like a guess. Every conversation feels like a performance. And every relationship, no matter how close, feels like it's built on a version of you that might disappear if you stop trying so hard. The cost of being understood by everyone is that you become a stranger to yourself. Let's go deeper. Why do we do this in the first place? It's not weakness, it's wiring. As kids, we learned that certain versions of ourselves got rewarded. The polite one, the funny one, the one who didn't cause problems. And certain versions got punished. The loud one, the disagreeable one, the one with needs. So we adapted. We learned to read the room and become what the room wanted. That's not pathological. That's survival. But here's the trap. What works in childhood becomes a prison in adulthood. Because now, you're not dependent on your parents' approval to stay safe. But your nervous system doesn't know that. It still scans for danger. It still sends the signal. If they don't like you, you're in trouble. So you keep performing. you keep softening. And the more you do it, the more you need it. Because now your self-worth is tied to other people's reactions. You feel good when someone agrees with you. You feel shaky when someone doesn't. You've outsourced your emotional stability to an audience that will never stop changing. And here's the thing nobody tells you. The people you're trying so hard to please, they're not thinking about you as much as you think they are. They're worried about their own performance, their own approval. You're bending yourself into knots for an audience that's barely paying attention. The approval you're chasing is not a real thing you can earn and keep. It's a moving target that resets every single day. There's a specific kind of exhaustion that comes with this. It's not physical. It's not burnout from overwork. It's the tiredness of never being off stage, of monitoring every word, every expression, every reaction. Psychologists call it self-monitoring, and it's one of the most draining things a human nervous system can do, because it never stops. Even when you're alone, you're rehearsing, replaying conversations, wondering if you said the wrong thing, adjusting your story for the next person. It's like running a program in the background of your mind that never closes, and it eats up everything, your energy, your creativity, your ability to be present, because you can't actually connect with someone when you're busy calculating how to be received by them. Real connection requires presence. It requires you to show up as something consistent, something solid. But when you're shape-shifting, there's nothing solid to connect to. So your relationships stay surface level, pleasant but not deep, and you wonder why you feel lonely even when you're surrounded by people who supposedly understand you. It's because they don't understand you. They understand the performance. And somewhere deep down, you know it. That's the loneliness. Not being unseen. Being seen as someone you're not. And having to maintain that illusion because you're terrified of what happens if it drops. Here's what shifted everything for me. I used to think that conflict meant failure, that if someone disagreed with me or didn't like my decision, I'd done something wrong. So I avoided it. I smoothed things over. I made myself smaller so there'd be less to bump into. But I started noticing something. The people I respected most, the ones who seemed the most grounded, they weren't afraid of friction. They didn't go looking for it. But they didn't run from it either. They had boundaries. They had opinions. And when someone pushed back, they didn't collapse. They stayed steady. And I realized something. Friction isn't a sign that something's broken. It's a sign that something real is happening. Because real things have edges. They have weight. They take up space. When you stand for something, some people won't like it. That's not a bug. That's the whole point. The goal was never to be understood by everyone. The goal is to be understood by yourself. To know what you think, what you value, what you will and won't accept. And to let that be enough. Even if it costs you some approval. Even if it makes some people uncomfortable. Because the alternative is spending your entire life as a guest in your own mind. Waiting for permission to exist. The people worth keeping in your life? They don't want a shapeshifter. They want someone real. Someone who pushes back sometimes. Someone who says, "No, I don't see it that way," and doesn't apologize for it. That's not arrogance. That's integrity. And integrity creates the kind of respect that approval never will. When you stop performing, you don't lose people. You lose audiences. And you gain something better. You gain the kind of relationships where you can actually rest, where you don't have to guess what version of yourself to be, where someone knows you, the real you, and stays anyway. That's not something you can earn by being agreeable. That's something you build by being consistent, by letting people see the edges, the opinions, the parts of you that don't fit neatly into what they expected, and trusting that the ones who matter will make room for it. You become someone you recognize. And that is worth more than being liked by everyone. So here's the shift. It's small, but it works. For the next week, practice something called the pause before the performance. Before you answer a question, before you agree, before you soften your opinion to match the room, stop. Just for 2 seconds. And ask yourself one thing. Is this actually what I think, or is this what I think they want to hear? You don't have to change your answer every time. Sometimes you'll realize you do agree, and that's fine. But sometimes you'll catch yourself mid-shape-shifting. And that awareness is everything. Because once you see the pattern, you can choose differently. Start small. Pick one conversation this week where you say what you actually think, even if it might create a little friction. Not to be contrarian, not to prove a point, just to practice standing still instead of bending. Notice what happens. Most of the time, nothing bad happens. The person might disagree, they might push back a little, but the relationship doesn't explode, and you get something back. A small piece of yourself. A reminder that your perspective has value, even when it's not universally accepted. Do that enough times, and something starts to shift. You stop needing everyone to understand you, because you understand yourself. And that becomes the foundation everything else is built on. You stop asking, will they like this version of me? And start asking, is this version of me true? And that question changes everything. Go back to that moment. You're standing between two friends. One says something you don't agree with. And this time, you don't nod. You don't perform. You just say, I don't really see it that way. Your voice is calm, steady, not apologizing, not aggressive, just real. The other person might look surprised. They might ask why. And you'll tell them, not because you need them to agree, but because you've decided that your perspective deserves to exist in the room. Maybe they'll understand, maybe they won't. But here's what changes. You will. You'll walk away from that conversation and feel something you haven't felt in a long time. Solid. Like you took up space and didn't apologize for it. Like you were there. Not as a reflection of what someone else needed, but as yourself. That feeling is the beginning of everything. Hold on to it.